Hello, everyone, and welcome to another round of 12 News Weekend. I'm Kariba Devine. Here at 12 News, we strive to bring you the very best journalism in the Valley. That is why each week we'll rewind the tape to show you some of our best stories. Some will make you laugh, some will make you cry, and some will make you feel. This is 12 News Weekend.
Arizona town trapped in time is facing an uncertain future. People from all over the world come to Erie Street in Bisbee to take pictures next to the vintage cars that line the street. But now the mining company that owns most of the town says it will not be renewing leases next year. 12 News journalist Kyle Simchuk reports.
This isn't just any street. This is Erie Street, a living museum of Americana built around a copper mine in Bisbee's Lowell district.
I remember when this place was booming and jamming to where when the mines pulled out in approximately 74, I watched it die the slowest death you can imagine.
Jay Allen grew up here and has been the driving force behind Lowell's revival. Many of these vintage cars belong to him.
And then at some point, people came to Bisbee and said, this city has promise. I remember there was one group called Collier Crafts, and they said, this is another Telluride. They saw the vision, but trust me, it was a beat-up old shoe.
Today, that beat-up old shoe has become one of Arizona's most photographed streets. It's also home to the original Bisbee Breakfast Club, which Mitzi Satterfield manages.
I committed to 3 months 14 years ago.
Mining company Freeport-McMoRan owns most of the real estate in Lowell, including the restaurant, which is coming up on its 15-year lease. Freeport has decided not to renew the lease come September.
It's going to be really heartbreaking to me. I put in my everything into this restaurant, and it's my heart and soul.
In a statement to 12 News, Freeport pointed to the building's aging condition and the geological risk of ground sinking near the open pit mining site.
I don't see any cracks or any moving walls or anything like that. So, I mean, I don't think in our lifetime it's going to happen.
Nell Klein owns an antique shop and the building next to the restaurant.
Well, I was pretty saddened because it'll stop the flow of traffic through that street, and it'll pretty much kill my business.
The handful of businesses in Lowell are banding together, hoping Freeport will change its mind or sell the building to the Bisbee Breakfast Club.
The owner is more than willing to accept every form of liability possible.
Allen is gathering signatures from Cochise County officials and plans to send a letter to Freeport's CEO. His goal is to prevent Lowell from becoming a ghost town once again.
They're not the big bad witch. They're just a big mining company, and I don't think they realize what Lowell is, and that's what we're going to show them.
Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. Last month, the 12 News I-Team told you about a Gilbert family displaced from their home after it was filled with sewage water. It happened after workers struck a sewage line while working on a fiber optic construction project. Well, sadly, that family is still out of their home as they navigate an insurance nightmare to get it fixed. In the meantime, we have received several additional complaints about residents about that same project. 12 News journalist Bianca Bono is live in Gilbert tonight with their concerns. Bianca?
Yeah, Caribe, the town of Gilbert is doubling down on their statement, saying they don't bear any responsibility for these construction projects. But residents are pushing back, saying the town signed off on the permits and the town is making money on the project.
I kind of did a little trip right on this spot.
Courtney Hampton showing the large crack across the driveway of her Gilbert home that she says wasn't there a month ago.
Someone's got to be responsible.
She said it happened during a construction project overseen by Gigapower and Tilson to install a fiber optic network for high-speed internet in the town.
I just want someone to take accountability because it's multiple houses.
Her neighborhood near Ray and Power Roads is the same neighborhood where Nicole Flood's home was flooded with wastewater after a sewage line was struck there.
It was literally, we were in it.
Another neighbor around the corner,
it's the lack of respect,
also has a new crack across her driveway.
They dug that hole, and I know this isn't half as bad as the neighbors that we've got, but still, it's not okay.
Another neighbor's irrigation system was broken and shared this video with 12 News, showing a construction crew sideswiping their car, only for the crews to inspect the damage, then leave without any communication. These problems not new to town leaders.
My dispute is with the city of Gilbert in regards to Tilson's method of installing fiber optics in our neighborhood.
In May, Gilbert resident Mark Noyce sharing his horror story about how his driveway was damaged.
In my opinion, the city of Gilbert, along with Tilson, are the responsible parties.
I would just like them to take accountability and ownership.
They give them the permits to come on our property.
12 News brought some of these residents' concerns to Councilmember Young Kaprowski.
We understand that these disruptions can be very frustrating, but ultimately the responsibility is with the fiber contractor.
But per the town's license agreement, Gilbert receives 2% of Gigapower's gross revenue. If there are benefits coming back to the town, wouldn't they bear some responsibility? The council member wasn't aware. 12 News also asking if the town has any plans to ensure subcontractors working under Tilson are properly vetted and qualified.
It's not necessarily possible to prevent every single conflict from happening. It's part of construction activity, and we try to minimize that as much as possible.
A Tilson spokesperson says they've cut ties with the subcontractor who hit this vehicle and claims they fixed the irrigation system at that home today. Bowler's family spotted Tilson crews at her home today after 12 News reached out to the company, and a spokesperson said they've scheduled the cracked panel for replacement. Months after Noyce spoke out, his driveway has now been repaired. As for Hampton, who also saw Tilson crews at her home this afternoon, Tilson says they determined the damage was not related to their construction.
I work from home, so of course I welcome faster internet, but not at this expense.
And with regards to the home that was flooded with sewage, I'm told that Tilson has reimbursed them for the cost of that pipe repair out front, but they are still struggling with insurance to get them to cover the damages inside of their home, and they are still displaced. We're live in Gilbert tonight. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
We begin tonight with a new report from the 12 News I-Team taking a deep dive into the safety of dating apps. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 10, I'm Kariba Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. Millions of people around the world go looking for love online, but not everyone finds a fairy tale ending.
The I-Team's Erica Stapleton found some research that suggests nearly a third of people who meet in person from a dating app encounter some form of violence.
This all started with a series we first reported over the summer called He Made Me Do It, where a match on a dating app went horribly wrong for Helen Simmons. And after reviewing the terms of use for several popular dating apps, I learned that safety is not guaranteed while swiping. What started as a swipe on a dating app.
It was all manipulation. There was no relationship.
Quickly landed Helen Simmons behind bars.
I was just so scared. And I just wanted to go home, but he wouldn't let me.
She was 18 when she moved to Phoenix in summer 2022 and said within a day or two, she met 22-year-old Matthew Jones on the dating app Tinder. Helen told us and investigators that she went over to his apartment willingly at first, but then said Jones wouldn't let her go. In the 2 weeks that followed, she said Jones abused her and threatened her if she didn't do what he said. Then she said he forced her into a violent jewelry store robbery. They were both arrested and later sent to prison.
I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Despite Helen's allegations of abuse.
Which made him have enough control over me to make me do something like that.
The I-Team learned that Jones has a history of hurting women, with prior convictions in California and Arizona. In fact, Jones had just gotten out of prison about 2 weeks before Helen said they met. Records show that conviction was for unlawful imprisonment and aggravated assault involving another woman he met online. Tinder's terms of use state that felons are prohibited from creating accounts, but that the company doesn't do any criminal background checks, and that Tinder is not responsible for the conduct of any member on or off the service. The same term's true for many popular dating apps. Earlier this year, a rep for Tinder said they didn't have a record of Matthew Jones or Helen Simmons. The rep did not answer any of our other questions, including how they keep felons from signing up.
I mean, it's definitely easy for bad actors to access dating apps. Usually it's just a first name and a phone number or an email address to create an account with no sort of security, safety screening, identity verification prior to that.
Catherine Kosmides is the CEO of Garbo, a company that used to partner with Tinder to help users with background checks.
And we definitely have seen individuals using dating apps as a way to find victims in a much easier fashion.
Certainly, this isn't everyone's experience on dating apps, but there is limited public data tracking violent outcomes. Researchers with the Australian Institute of Criminology found that nearly a third of people they surveyed reported violence at an in-person meeting after matching online. ProPublica published a similar stat in 2019, finding that 31% of women surveyed reported being sexually assaulted or raped by someone they had met through an online dating site. Cosmitas said she ultimately ended the partnership with Tinder and stopped their background check service, in part due to challenges with the app platforms, but also with background checks in general.
How challenging is it to actually get a full record on a person?
I would say probably nearly impossible.
Access to public records varies state by state, county by county, some places redacting important information, and it may cost you.
Here in New York, where I live, it can be $95 to run a single background check on someone. And that's $95 before I ever go on a first date or a first meeting with someone. And so it's really expensive data.
A rep from Match Group, Tinder's parent company, said in part that Tinder has a new partner to help with background checks in the United States called BrightCheck, and that Match Group uses other technology to help flag profiles with harmful images and language. The bottom line, even if someone comes up clean.
Just because someone doesn't have a record doesn't mean they're safe.
Which is why Garbo, dating apps, and other services lay out best practices, like having your own transportation, not sharing personal information, recognizing your boundaries, and taking things at your own pace.
So dating apps are very common, and I'm not saying they're a bad thing.
Matthew Jones is not facing charges on any of Helen's allegations and told investigators that everything was consensual. She's still processing what she went through, a hard new perspective from prison.
They can pretend to be somebody they're not, and that's what happens with me. I hope that people can just be more careful, men and women, because it can happen to anybody.
The I-Team is still investigating violence in dating apps. If you have an experience to share, we hope you'll take our dating app safety survey. You can find it right now by scanning the QR code on your screen. You can fill it out anonymously with an option to leave contact information if you want me to follow up with you. In the newsroom, Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
Erica, thanks.
And tonight, a dog is looking for a new home after taking a wrong turn down a Valley freeway. 12 News journalist Gabriella Becerra joining us live in studio tonight with how Valley drivers work to save the animal. Hey, Gabby.
Well, Rachel, that dog is okay, and that's all thanks to the drivers who stopped traffic. The dog was wearing a collar, but with no tag, so no one knows where he came from or how he ended up on State Route 51.
The twists and turns of Arizona's busiest freeway interchange is about the last place you'd expect to find a dog.
Everyone just zooms by, and that's kind of the last thing you're thinking about.
But the transition from Interstate 10 to State Route 51 is exactly where this dog ended up earlier this week.
Absolutely no way is this little guy just going to be running and gonna get hit. Like, I just could not accept that.
Lucky for him,
I just start sprinting down the highway.
Grace Gompers didn't just drive by.
He looks back at me and then he just goes faster.
With traffic at a standstill,
everyone stopped their cars. Literally, it was like a whole ordeal.
Grace eventually did catch up to the dog, but he bit her hand.
He just had pure fear in his eyes, and I don't blame him for biting me. He just was in fight or flight. And so at that point, he crawled under the car. And then someone behind us actually ran out and was like, I have gloves, I can grab him.
Once the dog was safe in her car, his demeanor did a 180.
This dog was resting his head on my leg. He gave me kisses. He was just so grateful. And I was starting to form such an attachment. I was like, this is love.
As much as she wishes she could, Grace says she can adopt the dog she now calls Skippy.
I am just not in a position where I feel like I can give him the best home.
She brought him to the Maricopa County Animal Shelter where they unsuccessfully scanned him for a microchip. She's hoping someone who can give the dog a good home will take him in.
It was crazy to see an animal in such distress. I kind of had the same adrenaline, running on the highway. Genuinely, I had that feeling too. So I can't even imagine him not really knowing where he is and what's going on.
Grace tells me the bite on her hand wasn't that bad, but because of it, the dog is still quarantining at the Maricopa County Animal Shelter. Back to you, Rachel.
Gabby, thank you.
Keeping you in the loop when it comes to things happening in the West Valley. This new Amazon delivery service, drone, dropping stuff right there on your front porch.
Yeah, that sounds pretty convenient, right? Well, 12 News journalist Jade Cunningham has more on how customers in the West Valley are benefiting.
The next time you order something, you may want to look up because there's a company that is offering new delivery service that is sure to turn heads. Amazon is giving a whole new meaning to dropping off one's packages.
It's flying and it's ready to deliver to lucky customers in the West Valley.
Delivering customers' items in less than an hour by drone.
Almost everybody expects their package in 2 days or less, and we continue to raise the bar. Now in the Valley too, you can have same-day service. So this is just that evolution of our innovation.
The company announced plans for the service back in April. While Arizona was one of several states to extensively test it, last month, State 48 became one of the first to officially implement it.
The West Valley is the first place where we can really have that claim to fame of this is where the drone actually became a part of the Amazon network and infrastructure.
So how does it work? A customer finds one of the 50,000 items eligible and selects that particular delivery method at checkout. It then takes off and drops it off in a clear spot.
One of the great perks for customers is obviously the speed. Being able to get those items quickly, efficiently, safely. That's one of the reasons why we've been innovating this type of new delivery system.
But there are restrictions. Delivery must take place during the day and the weight of the item must be 5 pounds or less. Customers also have to live in the West Valley, specifically about 7 miles or so from the Tolleson facility near 107th Avenue and West Van Buren.
The West Valley is where all the growth, opportunity, innovation is going on. We already had that infrastructure in Tolleson that was very easy to include the drone delivery service into the already existing infrastructure.
The service is taking deliveries to new heights.
Drone is one more way that we can surprise and delight our customers.
Amazon officials saying it's just the beginning. Jay Cunningham, 12 News.
That drone is way bigger than what I expected.
I know.
You see how big that thing was?
It's huge.
All right, the high-flying wake of delivery comes with a price, even if you're a Prime member. For members, it's an extra $9.99, and if you're not a Prime member, it costs you an extra $14.99 to have that huge drone dropping stuff on your front lawn. For the third year in a row, firearm injuries are the leading cause of death for teenagers 15 to 17 here in Arizona, and that's according to a state report just released.
12 News journalist Colleen Sikora is speaking to those who want action and are disturbed that there hasn't been any as this trend continues to grow.
Nearly 4 years.
Losing him was just a great loss in our family.
Greg Gutierrez has lived without his son, Jaden Torres.
We all loved him dearly.
At 16 years old, Jaden was shot and killed near 19th Avenue in Missouri in February 2021.
You guys still don't have justice?
No. Haven't heard nothing, actually. All we heard is just more reports of other kids getting taken from their families as well.
2021, the first year the Arizona Child Fatality Review Team found firearm injuries as the leading cause of death in teens 15 to 17 years old in Arizona. Since then, it's increased more than 20% in that age group alone.
Nothing's being done about it. It's just getting worse in an area that really needs the attention on it. The kids is one thing we got to protect, you know.
In the newest report looking at 2023, 51 teens aged 15 to 17 died from firearm injuries, more than half of those homicides.
My top concern is that the fact that all these deaths are preventable and we're not taking action to prevent those deaths.
Dr. Mary Ellen Rimza is a pediatrician and has been the chair of the Arizona Child Fatality Review Program for 31 years.
Over the years, our recommendations have been taken seriously and action done in many of these cases.
She has seen change in other preventable deaths like drownings and car crashes.
But we've gone nowhere on guns. Somehow we have decided that the gun is too important. We can't set up any kind of legislation that might help us decrease gun deaths.
Reiterating it's a public health problem, like the Surgeon General pointed to in an advisory earlier this year.
It's not a Second Amendment issue, it's a public health issue. And we need to apply the principles of public health of looking at, what can be done to prevent these injuries and deaths and then take action on it.
Saying a safe storage law would help, but with it not on the books in Arizona, recommending parents take action.
People aren't aware of how risky it is to have guns in the home with teens. Teenagers are very smart and unfortunately they're moody. They often act impulsively.
As Gutierrez wants to see action too.
It'd be nice to see these governors and senators and police chiefs and everybody get a little more involved. Somebody needs to be held accountable for what their loved ones are doing.
Colleen Sikora, 12 News.
Some in Arizona love the slow and the low life, cruising around in a custom painted lowrider. There is a big community here for that, so chances are that you've seen artist Bugs work, especially if you are a fan of the Phoenix Suns. Allison Rodriguez sat down with him to talk about his passion for art and about getting that phone call from the Suns.
If you want the best sunrises and sunsets, you come to Arizona. If you want a timeless custom vehicle paint job, you come to Efren Gonzalez, better known as Bugs.
Hopefully when people see my work, they can tell that's a Bugs paint job.
For Gonzalez, lowrider culture was love at first sight.
I seen these two guys in a lowrider, and so I looked over and I just seen them, hitting the switches, and I seen them scraping. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that?
He loved it all. The clothes, the cars, the lifestyle, even if it took him a minute to realize it.
But once I understood it, and I was like, where it comes from, I go, well, that's me.
But in his heart, he was always an artist. And while he loved everything about it, he flourished when he had a brush in his hand.
Then I started seeing cars getting custom painted. I started seeing the upholstery. I started seeing the murals.
That is so cool. With the support of his wife and family in Arizona, he went alone to California in the 90s to really study his passion. And he carries those lessons to this day.
Whenever I do signs, I can still hear my instructor, Doc Guthrie. Why are you doing it like that? Why are you taking so long?
He looks back on that time now fondly, and for the past 40 years and countless custom paint jobs, his reputation spread. So much so that the Phoenix Suns came calling for their El Valle City Edition uniform campaign.
I remember when they called me, I was looking at my phone like, okay, who's messing around?
That's Bugs next to Suns superstar Devin Booker.
So I remember when it was that commercial and he said, I want Bugs in the car with me. And I was like, what, really? Booker's a real cool dude.
But if you ask who impresses him today, it's really the people doing what he loves to do.
Man, look at this guy, go with that brush, or look at that guy's paint job.
So what does a custom Bugs paint job look like?
Keep them timeless.
In other words, classic. His pinstriping is freehand and requires surgery-like precision, as we saw up close. He's one of the best. He's loved this work and world since he was a kid, so I asked when he's going to put down the brush.
I'll go until the big man upstairs says you're done.
Proving if you love what you do, you never really work a day in your life. Reporting in Chandler, Allison Rodriguez, 12 News.
Incredible.
It is, that steady hand. Yes, wow. So talented. Thanks again for tuning in. And remember, you can catch 12 News Weekend on Saturdays and Sundays on our YouTube channel and our streaming app, 12 News Plus. I'm Karima Devine. Have a great rest of your weekend.